Start listening now if you want steady, fearless confidence, because this audiobook will show exact actions to change your life. 10 lean chapters cover focused decision-making, gratitude, belief-breaking daily challenge, truthful speech, disciplined routines, model success, reflection, and patient calm. Each chapter gives clear exercises to build strength habit by habit and produce results you can measure. Subscribe to this channel and come back every day for new audio lessons that reinforce progress and lock in growth. Turn on notifications so you never miss practice, and know this video has no interruptions, no ads and no filler. Commit to 15 minutes daily. Follow every exercise and watch small steps accumulate into undeniable change. If you are ready to stop doubting and start proving, then subscribe now and begin the work that builds real confidence. This is practical, disciplined training, not motivational fluff, and it will make you stronger. Chapter 1. Strengthen daily focus to control thoughts and emotions effectively. Confidence begins inside the quiet space between a single breath and a single choice. When focus tightens and thoughts stop pulling attention in every direction, like a rag in a river, the mind becomes dependable, the body becomes steady, and emotions stop dictating actions. This is not flair or false bravado. This is training. This is a method that makes courage habitual and calm automatic. The first day of real change is the day focus becomes a practice, not a hope. When distraction fades, the world becomes clearer. The chest does not clench as often. The tongue does not stumble. The eyes see what matters. Start with the simplest work and make it non-negotiable. Each morning for 5 minutes, sit upright. Feel the weight of the body on the chair. Notice the temperature of the air on the skin, and follow the breath in and out. Count each inhale and exhale up to 5, and then reverse from 5 to 1. If the mind wanders, notice the thought and return to counting without judgment. This is not meditation for mystics. It is training for soldiers of the self. The effect is immediate. After a week, decision fatigue decreases and anxiety loosens its grip. After a month, attention becomes a natural tool, not an elusive reward. Name emotions like this. When fear arrives, call it fear. When anger surges, call it anger. When doubt whispers, call it doubt. Naming is not weakness. Naming separates the emotion from action, which creates distance and control. A pulse thumps, now, not a dictator. This small separation transforms panic into information. The body sends a message and the mind decodes it. Ask what the message is trying to protect, and then decide how useful that protection is now. Use a short phrase such as, "This is fear informing me," and then choose one disciplined action. Create anchors for calm. An anchor is a sensory trigger tied to a practiced response. Choose a physical anchor, such as pressing the tip of the thumb and forefinger together, or tapping the inside of the wrist. Pair this anchor with the deep breath practice until the brain links the physical touch to a drop in heart rate and a clearer thought. Practice anchor activation 3 times a day in neutral moments and twice before stress moments like presentations or difficult conversations. When stress arrives, press the anchor, feel the breath slow and the body settle. The mind will follow because habit has taught it. Design the environment to reduce attention theft. Remove the phone from the immediate workspace or place it face down in another room during focus blocks. Turn off unnecessary notifications and set a visible timer for 50 minutes of deep work, followed by a 10-minute break. This rhythm mirrors natural energy cycles and trains sustained attention. During the work block, focus on one task only. If an unrelated thought appears, write it on a small notepad, then return to the primary task. The notepad is a promise to the mind that the thought will be dealt with later. This simple contract quiets internal nagging and strengthens confidence because work gets completed and momentum grows. Use structure to manage emotion. Prepare for difficult moments with if-then planning. Identify the trigger and script a single rational response. If a meeting becomes tense, then I will breathe 3 times, name the emotion, and state one clear fact. If rejection arrives, I will acknowledge the feeling, then list 3 things I did well. If a mistake happens, I will accept responsibility and outline 1 corrective step. These scripts remove performance pressure. They convert chaotic reaction into calm response. Practice these scripts in role play or mirror work until they feel natural. Train attention with focused reading and single task exercises. Choose books that require slow reading and deep thought. Read a paragraph, then close the eyes and summarize what was just read in 1 sentence. Repeat for 10 paragraphs. This strengthens comprehension and reduces the urge to skim. Another exercise is the sensory walk. For 15 minutes, walk slowly and note 5 things heard, 5 things seen, and 3 things felt on the skin. This hones sensory awareness and draws thought out of anxious loops. Improved sensory clarity reduces the fog of worry and creates a firm baseline for confidence. Reframe negative internal dialogue by asking 3 practical questions. What is the evidence for this thought? What would happen if this thought were not true? What small action can prove or disprove the thought within 24 hours? Replace vague condemnation with testable experiments. A thought that sounds like "I will fail" becomes a hypothesis: "I will fail to complete this task on my first attempt." The experiment becomes the attempt, and the result is learning. Confidence grows because the mind stops living in imagined disasters and starts collecting data. Use small wins as fuel. Confidence is not a single grand event. It is a ledger of tiny, reliable victories. Break goals into micro-tasks that take 10 to 20 minutes. Finish 1 micro-task and mark it down. The act of marking progress releases a small dopamine pulse, and the brain learns that effort equals measurable gain. Keep a visible list of 3 daily wins and review them before sleep. Over time, the list transforms perception from "I am not enough" to "I am consistently moving forward." Build a morning ritual that primes focus and reduces decision load. Wake at a consistent time, hydrate with a glass of water, feel the first movement of the muscles, and perform a short set of physical movements, such as 5 minutes of stretching, squats, or push-ups. This wakes the body and signals the brain that intention is active. Follow movement with 2 minutes of focused breathwork and 1 short journal item that answers "Who do I need to be today?" and "What is the single most important action I can complete?" This ritual takes 20 minutes and creates the first confident choices of the day. Practice exposure in controlled steps to expand the comfort zone. Choose 1 fear or avoidance area and design a ladder of 5 steps from small to challenging. If social anxiety is the target, step 1 might be making eye contact and smiling at a barista. Step 2, asking a simple question to a coworker. Step 3, speaking up in a small meeting. Step 4, volunteering to present a short status update. Step 5, leading a larger team meeting. Repeat each step until discomfort reduces by 50%, then move up the ladder. Confidence grows because the nervous system learns new outcomes and the mind builds a history of success. Cultivate mental toughness with disciplined recovery. Confidence is not stubbornness. It is the ability to endure challenge and recover quickly. After stressful events, perform a short recovery routine. Sit down, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 6, then relax the shoulders and notice the heart. Follow with a brief reflection that answers what went well and what can be done differently next time. Write 1 concrete improvement and 1 affirmation about capability. Recovery seals lessons without amplifying failure. Control information intake deliberately. Limit exposure to anxiety-producing content and replace it with materials that teach skill and perspective. Choose interviews with people who explain their method, books that show process, and practical podcasts that offer frameworks, not emotional drama. The mind learns from what it consumes. Replace worry with craft and confidence will follow because competence grows. Use accountability to convert intention into action. Share a single measurable goal with one trusted person and set a check-in cadence. The combination of public commitment and scheduled review is a powerful lever. The person should be firm and honest, not flattering. If accountability is not available, use a simple tracker and commit to posting a daily result in a public log or to a small group. Social friction converts good ideas into habit. Finally, commit to 30 days of deliberate focus training and measure results. Choose 3 metrics that matter, such as number of focused work blocks completed, minutes of breath practice, and 1 public action taken that day. Track these metrics daily. At the end of 30 days, review the ledger and note changes in mood, energy, and social ease. Confidence is not measured by feelings alone, but by patterns sustained over time. Confidence built this way is quiet and unstoppable. It does not scream. It moves with precision. It is anchored in daily discipline and tested in small practical actions. The mind becomes reliable, the body becomes steady, and the world responds because behavior changes, not words. Begin today with 5 minutes of counted breathing, 5 minutes of focused movement, and 1 decisive action toward a small, meaningful goal. This first decision will ripple. Continue the practice and daily life will shift from uncertain reaction to deliberate creation. Chapter 2. Act decisively in uncertainty to trust your inner power. Uncertainty is the space where most people freeze and wait for life to deliver answers that never come. It is the gap between a question and a decision, between fear and action, where character is forged. Acting decisively in these moments separates those who stumble through life from those who shape it. Trust is not blind. It is built from repeated choices made with clarity and discipline, even when the path ahead is foggy. Every person has a reservoir of inner power waiting to be activated, and the key is movement. Action feeds trust, and trust expands capacity. Hesitation shrinks opportunity and erodes belief in oneself. Begin by recognizing that uncertainty is inevitable. No one ever has complete control over outcomes. Accepting this fact is liberating because it removes the expectation of perfection. Once acceptance replaces resistance, the mind can focus on strategy rather than panic. The first step toward decisive action is separating what can be influenced from what cannot. Spend time analyzing the situation with precision. Identify the elements within your control, the variables you can impact, and the external factors that are simply outside your reach. Energy spent fretting over what cannot change is wasted energy. Direct attention and effort exclusively toward areas where meaningful action is possible. This is not avoidance. It is intelligent resource management. Next, create a decision framework that is simple and repeatable. When confronted with a choice, ask 3 questions. What is the best action I can take right now? What is the smallest step forward that moves me toward my goal? What would I regret not doing if the opportunity passes? Answering these questions quickly forces the mind out of hesitation. Decisions do not need to be perfect. They need to exist. The act of deciding itself trains the brain to trust its judgment. Each decision is a seed of confidence that grows stronger when action follows swiftly. Build momentum with small actions first. Uncertainty is less terrifying when met with movement, even incremental movement. Begin with a minor but meaningful step that brings clarity or information. If you are unsure about a career change, Reach out to one mentor or research one new skill. If social anxiety makes an opportunity daunting, speak to one person or make one phone call. These micro-actions break the paralysis that uncertainty creates. As micro-actions accumulate, momentum becomes tangible and the brain starts associating action with results rather than fear. Cultivate a mindset that values courage over comfort. Understand that discomfort is not a signal to retreat, but a signal that growth is occurring. Train yourself to move toward discomfort intentionally. Each choice made in the presence of fear expands the territory of what you consider possible. Over time, the nervous system becomes resilient to the physical sensations of anxiety. The chest tightens, palms sweat, and the mind races, yet the body and mind learn that acting anyway produces clarity and capability. Courage is built through repeated exposure to manageable risk and uncertainty. Develop clarity by visualizing multiple scenarios. Uncertainty does not disappear, but imagining possible outcomes prepares the mind to respond. Write down the best case, worst case, and most likely case scenarios. For each, outline an actionable response. This exercise removes the shock factor from unexpected events and equips the mind with options. Having a plan does not eliminate risk, but it reduces emotional reaction and creates a sense of mastery over circumstances. A confident mind thrives when equipped with preparation rather than drowned in anxiety. Trust your intuition as a guide, not a dictator. Inner power is often experienced as subtle impulses, quiet nudges that suggest a direction. These instincts are honed over time through consistent attention and reflective practice. When faced with uncertainty, pause briefly to assess gut reactions. Distinguish between fear driven by past trauma or social conditioning and instincts that arise from knowledge and experience. Acting decisively does not mean ignoring caution. It means filtering noise and amplifying informed intuition. The more you trust these subtle cues, the more naturally decisive action flows. Adopt a bias for action in every sphere of life. People often overanalyze, waiting for all conditions to align perfectly. Perfect alignment rarely happens. Life favors those who engage with the world even when signals are unclear. Action creates feedback. Feedback informs improvement. Hesitation produces nothing. Make a rule to take one meaningful action every day that challenges uncertainty. Track these actions and the outcomes. Reviewing progress will reveal patterns of strength, resourcefulness, and resilience. Confidence grows, not from comfort but from proving to yourself repeatedly that you can navigate ambiguity successfully. Train emotional regulation to sustain decisiveness. Fear, doubt, and anxiety are natural companions of uncertainty, but they do not have to dictate behavior. Use controlled breathing to anchor the body and clarify the mind before action. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Repeat until the mind is still enough to act. Pair this with naming emotions without judgment. Recognizing fear or anxiety as separate from identity allows action to proceed in their presence. Emotional discipline ensures that hesitation does not creep in disguised as rational caution. Practice reflective learning to improve future decision-making. After each action taken in uncertainty, evaluate objectively. What was the outcome? What was under control? And what was not? What did the action teach about timing, judgment, and resilience? Recording lessons consolidates experience into wisdom. The brain begins to recognize patterns and becomes faster at making confident choices. Each reflection turns raw experience into strategic insight, reinforcing the belief that inner power can be trusted. Understand that decisive action attracts opportunity. People who act boldly often find doors opening in unexpected ways. Confidence is magnetic because action generates clarity, presence, and competence. When others see commitment and courage, they respond with support, respect, and collaboration. Indecision signals doubt and uncertainty, which invites stagnation. Choosing decisively not only strengthens inner power, but also shapes the external environment. Life begins to reward decisiveness as a habit, creating a positive feedback loop that reinforces confidence and agency. Maintain consistency under pressure. One courageous act is a spark, but repeated action builds a flame. Set a daily standard of decisive movement. Review choices made the previous day and identify any areas where hesitation crept in. Take immediate corrective steps. Use a visual or written tracker to see streaks of action. The brain responds to consistent reinforcement by making decisive action a default response rather than a rare exception. Trust in oneself grows exponentially when consistency becomes routine. Finally, embrace the discomfort of uncertainty as the true arena of growth. Life never promises certainty, and waiting for it guarantees stagnation. The more frequently action is taken without perfect knowledge, the more expansive inner power becomes. Each decisive step, however small, proves capability, builds momentum, and reinforces the habit of trust. Confidence is not a reaction to comfort, it is a product of disciplined engagement with ambiguity. Trust is forged not in the calm, but in the storm where choice meets courage and action becomes unstoppable. Act decisively now by identifying the first uncertain decision awaiting attention. Take a practical, measurable step toward resolution today. Document the action, reflect on the outcome, and repeat tomorrow. Build a chain of decisive acts that stretch the comfort zone. Over weeks, uncertainty becomes manageable and inner power undeniable. Life stops being a series of anxious pauses and becomes a sequence of intentional, confident moves. Confidence grows from this process, unstoppable because it is grounded in repeated, disciplined action, not hope or luck. The path forward is always uncertain, but decisive action ensures mastery of self and trust in inner strength. Chapter 3. Practice gratitude consistently to increase mental clarity and courage. Gratitude is the quiet engine that powers clarity and courage. It is not merely an expression of politeness or fleeting acknowledgement. It is a deliberate practice that shifts the mind from scarcity to abundance, from reaction to awareness, and from fear to grounded strength. The mind that focuses on what it lacks becomes anxious and timid. The mind that trains to recognize what already exists becomes alert, capable, and resilient. Practicing gratitude consistently rewires perception, teaching the brain to notice opportunities, to evaluate challenges with a calm lens, and to act with decisiveness and courage in all areas of life. Begin by anchoring gratitude in the present moment. Too often, the mind drifts to regrets, past failures, or imagined future threats. Each time attention strays, gently bring focus back to the present and identify one element that provides stability or value. It can be as simple as the warmth of sunlight on the skin, the rhythm of steady breathing, the taste of a morning drink, or the ability to move freely. Noticing these small details trains the mind to recognize abundance without waiting for grand achievements or external validation. Each acknowledgement acts like a mental reset, clearing fog and sharpening perception. Develop a daily gratitude habit that is intentional and measurable. Take 5 to 10 minutes each morning or evening to write down 3 specific things you appreciate. Avoid generalizations. Instead of listing vague concepts, pinpoint tangible examples: a coworker's helpful insight, a moment of stillness, a problem successfully solved, or a small victory over distraction. Writing activates both memory and attention, cementing the awareness of positive elements in life. Over weeks, the brain begins to default to noticing positive aspects rather than dwelling exclusively on challenges. This shift creates a foundation for courage, because attention determines energy. Link gratitude directly to action to reinforce mental clarity. Each acknowledgement should inspire one deliberate step forward. For instance, if appreciation arises from a supportive friend, respond by expressing a kind word or offering assistance. If gratitude stems from personal health, choose to engage in one activity that strengthens the body. This pairing transforms passive recognition into active engagement. The mind begins to associate gratitude with forward motion and problem-solving, strengthening confidence and decision-making. Gratitude becomes a driver of achievement, not just a comforting thought. Use challenges as a source of appreciation. Life is filled with obstacles, but even in adversity, there is value. A difficult project teaches discipline, a tense conversation reveals communication gaps, and a failed attempt shows areas for skill improvement. Reframing difficulties through gratitude changes the lens of perception. Instead of feeling victimized by circumstance, the mind evaluates situations as opportunities for growth. Courage emerges naturally when the brain recognizes that every problem contains insight or learning. Gratitude in adversity reduces reactivity and increases clarity in assessing choices. Incorporate sensory awareness to deepen the practice. Engage sight, sound, touch, and even smell to notice elements that are often overlooked. The sound of a breeze through trees, the texture of a book's pages, the smell of freshly brewed coffee, the weight of the body in a chair. These details root attention in the moment. Awareness of sensory input strengthens concentration and reduces the pull of scattered thoughts. The mind that is anchored in observable reality is less vulnerable to fear, speculation, or unnecessary worry. Gratitude, when tied to sensory attention, becomes both stabilizing and energizing. Reflect on personal growth as a source of appreciation. List accomplishments, skills acquired, and habits developed over weeks, months, or years. Recognizing the trajectory of self-improvement builds confidence in the ability to handle future challenges. The act of acknowledging progress reinforces self-belief and reinforces clarity. Each reflection serves as proof that effort yields results, cultivating courage for endeavors that appear uncertain or daunting. Gratitude for one's own evolution anchors motivation in tangible evidence rather than abstract hope. Engage with others to amplify the effects. Express gratitude through words, actions, or simple acknowledgement of those who contribute to life in meaningful ways. A brief message of thanks, a smile or recognition of effort strengthens relationships and builds social capital. Human interaction shaped by appreciation creates a feedback loop where recognition generates cooperation and support. Observing the impact of gratitude on others reinforces the habit within the mind, producing a sense of agency and reinforcing the courage to act decisively in interpersonal contexts. Use gratitude to regulate emotional intensity. The act of noticing what is positive, even when minor, interrupts spirals of worry, anger, or frustration. When anxiety or self-doubt emerges, identify one element in the situation or environment that is beneficial, valuable, or instructive. Focusing on that element diverts attention from chaos and restores mental clarity. This practice trains the nervous system to remain grounded under pressure. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act clearly when fear is present, and gratitude is a consistent tool for achieving this state. Incorporate ritualized gratitude pauses during the day. Every few hours, take a moment to observe and mentally acknowledge one positive factor. This can be the progress of a task, a supportive colleague, the sound of birds, or the simple fact of breathing without pain. These micro-pauses create mental checkpoints, breaking up the day into intervals of awareness and control. As a result, decision-making improves, clarity deepens, and resilience strengthens. The mind becomes capable of facing uncertainty with confidence because it has consistent access to grounded perception. Pair gratitude with intentional visualization to enhance courage. Imagine desired outcomes while simultaneously appreciating current resources and abilities. Recognize strengths that can be leveraged, skills that can be improved, and allies who are available. This dual practice of envisioning and appreciating equips the mind with perspective, motivation, and realistic optimism. Clarity grows because the brain distinguishes actionable steps from wishful thinking. Courage grows because the mind sees resources rather than obstacles. The combination of gratitude and visualization produces a steady confidence that persists even in unpredictable circumstances. Commit to documenting lessons learned with gratitude. After completing significant tasks or experiencing challenges, write down what went well, what insight was gained, and what support was valuable. Treat failures as feedback and successes as reinforcement. This habit converts experience into structured understanding, reducing mental clutter and increasing the capacity to respond strategically. A mind trained in consistent acknowledgement of learning and assistance naturally becomes decisive and courageous. Patterns emerge, clarity strengthens, and confidence consolidates. Balance gratitude for the external world with appreciation for internal capacity. Recognize resilience, patience, creativity, and determination within yourself. Each time a personal quality is identified and acknowledged, it becomes easier to trust in one's ability to handle difficulties. Courage does not arise solely from circumstances, it arises from the conviction that the self is competent, prepared, and adaptable. Gratitude for internal resources creates a foundation for action when external conditions remain uncertain or challenging. Measure progress and reinforce habit by reviewing gratitude consistently. Weekly or monthly, revisit notes and reflections to notice recurring strengths, supportive people, and repeated positive outcomes. Observing trends over time demonstrates growth and reliability. It builds confidence because evidence replaces doubt. It strengthens courage because the mind internalizes the notion that challenges have been met before and will be met again. Habitual review consolidates mental clarity and builds a persistent sense of security in one's own capacity. Finally, integrate gratitude into decision-making under pressure. Before acting, pause for a moment to acknowledge current resources, support systems, and personal capabilities. This brief reflection centers attention, clarifies priorities, and reduces impulsive reactions driven by fear or stress. Decisions made from this grounded state are more effective, deliberate, and resilient. Over time, the mind learns that each choice, even in uncertainty, is supported by a network of internal and external strengths. Confidence grows because action is rooted in awareness rather than reaction, and courage strengthens because the mind consistently recognizes its capacity to navigate complexity successfully. Gratitude practiced with intention is transformative. It increases clarity, reduces distraction, and reinforces courage. The mind becomes a tool rather than a battlefield. Decisions are made with evidence and awareness. Fear loses influence. Action becomes consistent. Life shifts from reactive cycles to deliberate creation. Each day, each pause, each acknowledgement compounds. The mind and body become allies in self-trust. The process produces a confidence that is quiet, unstoppable, and grounded in the deliberate recognition of all that is working in favor of progress, growth, and achievement. Chapter 4. Break limiting beliefs. to unlock hidden personal potential permanently. Beliefs shape reality more than circumstances ever will. The limits placed on potential often exist solely within the mind, constructed over years of external opinions, repeated failures, and internalized doubt. Breaking these limiting beliefs is not a one-time act, but a deliberate process of investigation, challenge, and consistent reprogramming. Every moment spent accepting a boundary that is not real is energy wasted, opportunity lost, and confidence diminished. The mind naturally resists change, clinging to old narratives, yet growth demands confronting these narratives directly, examining their origin, and replacing them with truths that expand capacity rather than shrink it. Personal potential is hidden behind these mental walls, waiting to be released. Start by identifying beliefs that constrain action. Pay attention to recurring thoughts that begin with phrases like, "I cannot," "I am not," or "it is impossible." Often these statements have been repeated so frequently that they feel absolute. Write them down as if they were objects in front of you. Seeing them outside of the mind gives clarity and begins the separation process. Each statement should be questioned rigorously. Ask, where did this belief originate? Whose voice am I repeating? Is this belief fact or interpretation? Honest answers illuminate the artificial nature of constraints and open space for alternative possibilities. Challenge beliefs by collecting evidence to the contrary. For every limitation identified, search for real instances in life or observation that disprove it. If a belief says failure is inevitable, list every time success occurred after a misstep. If the belief states intelligence or skill is fixed, document moments of rapid learning or adaptation. Concrete evidence weakens the authority of limiting narratives, demonstrating that reality is more fluid than assumed. The act of gathering evidence is empowering because it transforms abstract doubt into manageable, analyzable material, giving the mind tangible proof that constraints are optional. Engage in experimental action to dismantle restrictions physically. Beliefs are not broken solely by thought. They are broken through consistent action that contradicts the limitation. Choose one limiting belief and design a small but deliberate step that defies it. For instance, if the belief is inability to speak publicly, volunteer for a brief comment in a small group or record yourself delivering a short message. Each successful attempt expands the comfort zone and creates neurological proof that the belief is false. Repetition of these micro-actions compounds, creating new neural pathways aligned with capability, growth, and courage. Reframe internal language to reinforce potential. Thoughts are not neutral. They either empower or constrain. Replace "I cannot" with "I am learning to," "I will find a way," or "I am capable of growth." Language is the mechanism through which beliefs solidify. Each shift in phrasing, when applied consistently, rewires perception. The brain begins to expect competence rather than failure, focus rather than hesitation, and opportunity rather than limitation. Verbal reinforcement becomes internalized, transforming thought into action before conscious effort is required. Observe role models to expand perception of possibility. Find individuals who have achieved what seems improbable and analyze their methods, mindset, and resilience. Understand that external success is a reflection of internal belief structures applied over time. Study failures they encountered and how persistence altered outcomes. Observing tangible examples challenges personal restrictions more effectively than theoretical arguments. The mind begins to understand that potential is not fixed, and that success in one domain can be mirrored in another with consistent strategy, effort, and belief adjustment. Use visualization as a tool to destabilize limiting beliefs. Picture yourself performing tasks previously deemed impossible. Imagine the body, the voice, the actions, and the emotions of accomplishment. The mind cannot distinguish between vivid rehearsal and actual experience at a neurological level. Frequent visualization primes confidence and prepares the body for action. Over time, the gap between imagined capability and real execution diminishes. Visualization coupled with deliberate experimentation accelerates belief transformation by converting abstract possibility into experiential expectation. Challenge assumptions regularly. Limiting beliefs are often invisible because they masquerade as reality. Question assumptions underlying every decision. Why do you believe a certain outcome is inevitable? What evidence supports it? What alternative explanations exist? What would happen if the belief were removed entirely? Regular scrutiny keeps hidden constraints from regaining power. This constant interrogation creates a mental culture of flexibility and curiosity, ensuring that potential remains visible and accessible instead of locked behind unnoticed walls. Surround yourself with reinforcement rather than restriction. Social influence shapes belief profoundly. Engage with individuals who demonstrate expansive thinking, celebrate growth, and challenge complacency. Limit exposure to negative voices, chronic pessimists, or environments that reinforce outdated limitations. Associating consistently with examples of capability and growth accelerates internal belief change. The mind begins to absorb patterns of confidence and achievement, replacing doubt with expectation. Social reinforcement amplifies the work done internally and provides motivation when effort alone feels insufficient. Maintain a journal to track belief shifts and progress. Document each limiting belief, the action taken to challenge it, evidence collected, and outcomes observed. Over weeks, patterns of expansion become visible. Reading past entries reinforces the reality that personal growth is active, cumulative, and permanent. Reflection creates accountability to oneself, solidifying confidence in the capacity to continue breaking limitations. The journal becomes both a mirror of transformation and a map for further exploration of untapped potential. Anchor breakthroughs with tangible reminders. After disproving a limitation through action, place physical or symbolic markers that reinforce the success. This could be a written note, a visual symbol, or a routine gesture. Each time the marker is noticed, the mind recalls the proof of ability and strengthens belief in potential. Anchoring consolidates mental shifts and prevents regression into old patterns of doubt. Confidence is reinforced, and the psychological space previously occupied by limitation is permanently reclaimed. Embrace discomfort as evidence of growth. Limiting beliefs often attempt to preserve comfort at the expense of potential. Action that contradicts a limiting belief may feel awkward, intimidating, or exhausting. These sensations are signs that the mind is being stretched. Welcome discomfort as a necessary companion of transformation rather than a signal to retreat. Each encounter with challenging emotion provides proof that capability exists beyond prior assumptions. Courage grows naturally when the mind is conditioned to act in the presence of uncertainty and resistance. Repetition is critical. Beliefs formed over years will not vanish overnight. Daily, consistent attention to thought patterns, language, visualization, and experimental action is required. Reinforce the brain with multiple examples that limitation is false. Over time, old narratives weaken and new expansive frameworks solidify. Personal potential, once hidden and restricted, becomes fully accessible. Confidence emerges organically from repeated evidence of capability, proving that transformation is both possible and sustainable. Celebrate incremental victories to fuel momentum. Recognize each moment when an outdated belief is contradicted, a challenging task completed, or a fear confronted successfully. Reinforcement consolidates new belief structures and maintains enthusiasm. Small wins compound, reshaping self-perception and amplifying courage. The mind starts to expect competence and resourcefulness naturally, creating a persistent state of readiness for new challenges. Momentum becomes self-sustaining, driving further action and expansion. Finally, integrate all these strategies into daily life. Belief transformation is not theoretical, it is practical. Each morning, reaffirm capabilities and intentions. Throughout the day, observe thoughts critically. Take micro-actions against limitations. Reflect in writing and engage visualization. Surround with supportive influence, anchor breakthroughs, and embrace discomfort. Over weeks, this consistent approach breaks old mental boundaries permanently. Hidden potential is unlocked because the mind no longer defaults to limitation, but operates from a framework of competence, courage, and relentless possibility. Confidence becomes unstoppable because it is grounded in deliberate, continuous, and irreversible transformation. Chapter 5. Engage in daily challenges to sharpen mental toughness naturally. Mental toughness is not something people are born with. It is forged daily through deliberate challenge and sustained effort. Every time the mind encounters difficulty and chooses persistence over avoidance, strength is built. Life does not shape confidence passively. It is sculpted by consistent confrontation with discomfort, uncertainty, and resistance. Engaging in daily challenges, both small and substantial, creates a foundation for resilience, sharpens decision-making, and trains the mind to act decisively under pressure. Avoidance, even of minor stresses, reinforces weakness and erodes trust in personal capacity. Growth occurs only when the mind and body are deliberately pushed beyond routine comfort, and repeated exposure transforms struggle into mastery. Start by identifying challenges that are meaningful yet manageable. The goal is not reckless risk, but consistent testing of limits. Begin with tasks that provoke mild discomfort or require effort outside of usual habits. This might include learning a new skill, completing a difficult physical routine, addressing a difficult conversation, or setting boundaries in social interactions. Each successful attempt strengthens confidence because the brain begins to associate effort with competence rather than failure. Small challenges accumulate, creating a neurological track of resilience that is activated automatically when future obstacles arise. Break challenges into progressive steps. Large or intimidating tasks can paralyze even the most motivated individuals. Divide the task into micro-actions that can be completed in short periods with measurable results. If the challenge is physical, start with shorter, manageable sets that gradually increase in intensity. If the challenge is intellectual or social, practice small scenarios that simulate the difficulty before tackling the full situation. Each step completed produces a micro-victory that reinforces mental toughness. Over time, the compound effect of these incremental successes transforms perception from limitation to capability. Embrace discomfort as an indicator of growth rather than a signal to retreat. Physical tension, emotional unease, or mental resistance are not enemies. They are markers that the brain and body are being pushed toward expansion. By approaching discomfort with curiosity and discipline, the nervous system learns to tolerate stress without triggering avoidance. This reduces reactive fear and increases the ability to act under pressure. Repetition in the presence of discomfort creates an automatic response pattern where challenge is met with focus and persistence instead of hesitation and avoidance. Track progress through measurable outcomes. Mental toughness is reinforced when achievement is observable. Maintain a record of completed challenges, noting difficulty, emotional response, and lessons learned. Reviewing progress provides tangible evidence that consistent effort produces improvement, reinforcing self-belief. Tracking also allows identification of patterns in response to stress, providing insight into personal triggers, areas of vulnerability, and strategies that enhance resilience. Documentation converts abstract effort into visible progress, increasing motivation to engage with future challenges consistently. Integrate challenges into daily life rather than reserving them for extraordinary circumstances. Mental toughness is most effectively developed when stress exposure is regular, predictable, and intentional. Create routines that incorporate controlled difficulty, such as cold exposure, intense physical training, public speaking practice, or complex problem solving. Daily engagement with challenges prevents over-reliance on luck or situational comfort and builds habitual resilience. The mind becomes conditioned to approach difficulty without fear, seeing it as an expected part of growth rather than a threat to stability. Use reflection as a reinforcement tool. After each challenge, spend time evaluating performance and extracting lessons. Identify what worked, what did not, and what could be improved next time. Reflection converts raw experience into wisdom and reinforces the neural pathways associated with disciplined effort. It also prevents discouragement by highlighting incremental gains that may otherwise go unnoticed. Reflection establishes a mindset of continuous learning, where every obstacle is a teacher rather than a barrier. Cultivate a mindset that reframes failure as information, not identity. Challenges often produce mistakes or temporary setbacks, but these are not indicators of inherent weakness. Analyze errors objectively to understand the cause and develop actionable strategies for improvement. By detaching self-worth from outcomes, the mind remains calm, clear, and capable of pursuing further challenges. Each recovered setback strengthens resilience and enhances the capacity to handle more demanding trials in the future. Mental toughness grows fastest when the mind interprets difficulty as a source of insight rather than judgment. Incorporate controlled exposure to uncertainty within challenges. Life is unpredictable, and mental toughness requires comfort with ambiguity. Design exercises where outcomes are not guaranteed. Decisions must be made under incomplete information, and results are tested by effort rather than certainty. This may include negotiating under pressure, adapting to new responsibilities with little preparation, or experimenting with untested approaches to familiar problems. Exposure to calculated uncertainty trains the brain to remain functional and decisive, even when conditions are unstable, strengthening confidence and reducing fear of the unknown. Develop resilience through physical conditioning, as well as mental practice. The body's response to stress is closely linked to mental toughness. Consistent physical challenges, such as high-intensity workouts, endurance training, or sustained mobility exercises, create both neurological and hormonal adaptations that support calmness, focus, and persistence. Physical strain teaches discipline, patience, and recovery strategies that directly translate into mental and emotional resilience. A strong body reinforces a strong mind, and regular exposure to controlled physical difficulty enhances overall capability. Use accountability and social reinforcement to maintain engagement with challenges. Share goals with mentors, coaches, or peers who can provide feedback, encouragement, and honest assessment. External accountability ensures consistency and introduces perspectives that might otherwise be overlooked. Social reinforcement validates effort and normalizes the discomfort associated with challenges. Observing others face similar difficulties enhances the perception that struggle is universal, reducing fear of failure while simultaneously motivating persistent engagement with effortful activities. Practice visualization to prepare for daily challenges. Mentally rehearsing difficult tasks primes the brain for actual performance. Imagine obstacles, potential setbacks, and the precise steps necessary to navigate them successfully. Visualization strengthens focus, reduces anxiety, and enhances adaptability when the real scenario rises. This mental rehearsal complements physical and emotional preparation, ensuring that challenges are approached with clarity, determination, and resourcefulness. Anchor lessons learned from each challenge through tangible reminders. A journal, a token, or even a simple phrase can serve as a prompt that reinforces resilience patterns. Each time the reminder is encountered, the mind recalls past effort, strategies applied, and obstacles overcome. Anchoring consolidates mental toughness by connecting memory, emotion, and action, providing confidence that similar challenges can be met with competence in the future. Gradually escalate difficulty over time. Mental toughness is a muscle that strengthens through progressive overload. Avoid stagnation by continually identifying more complex or demanding challenges. Each new level of difficulty builds on the foundation of previous experience, expanding endurance, focus, and courage. By continually raising the bar, the mind becomes adaptable to higher levels of stress, and confidence evolves naturally from demonstrated capability rather than theoretical possibility. Commit to consistency rather than occasional effort. True mental toughness is a product of routine engagement with difficulty, not sporadic bursts of bravery. Set clear daily or weekly targets for challenge and treat them as non-negotiable. The discipline of repeated action ingrains resilience, reduces sensitivity to stress, and transforms the mind into a reliable tool under pressure. Over time, challenges cease to intimidate because the response pattern of focus, action, and reflection is ingrained. Finally, embrace challenge as an integral part of identity rather than an external event. Viewing obstacles as a constant in life transforms perception from avoidance to anticipation. The individual who seeks daily engagement with challenge builds confidence that is self-sustaining, courage that is instinctive, and clarity that is automatic. Mental toughness is not a goal. It is the natural outcome of consistent, deliberate practice, reflection, and expansion of boundaries. Life becomes a sequence of opportunities to grow, adapt, and demonstrate capacity, and each day of engagement solidifies unstoppable confidence, rooted in the unshakable habit of confronting challenge head-on. Chapter 6. Speak your truth boldly to gain self-respect and authority. Speaking your truth boldly is the cornerstone of genuine confidence. It is the act of expressing beliefs, values, and intentions with clarity, conviction, and integrity without yielding to fear of judgment or rejection. Most people hesitate to voice what they truly think because of the imagined consequences of disapproval or conflict. Yet suppressing truth erodes self-respect and diminishes authority in the eyes of others and oneself. True influence arises not from perfection or charm, but from consistency, authenticity, and the courage to communicate honestly, even when it is uncomfortable. Speaking truth is not aggression. It is disciplined, purposeful expression rooted in self-awareness and respect. Begin by identifying what your truth is in every domain of life. This requires reflection on your values, priorities, and standards. Ask yourself what matters most in relationships, work, personal integrity, and life vision. Truth is a combination of knowledge, belief, and commitment to authenticity. Write down specific principles and convictions that guide decisions and behavior. The more clearly you define your truth, the easier it becomes to communicate it with confidence. Ambiguity in internal understanding translates to hesitation in external expression, so clarity within is essential before expression outwardly. Practice articulation in controlled environments to build confidence. Many avoid speaking truth because they fear the immediate reaction of others. Start by expressing your opinions in safe spaces with trusted peers, mentors, or through reflective writing. This rehearsal sharpens clarity of thought and identifies habitual patterns of avoidance or self-censorship. Through repetition, the act of honest expression becomes comfortable, and vocalizing principles becomes a skill rather than a source of anxiety. Incremental exposure strengthens both courage and precision in communication. Develop awareness of tone, posture, and body language as extensions of truth-telling. Words carry impact, but delivery amplifies authority. Standing or sitting with calm, open posture, maintaining steady eye contact, and controlling breath signals self-assuredness. Speaking with deliberate pacing rather than rushing conveys thoughtfulness. These physical markers reinforce the mind's commitment to honesty, making the expression of truth more compelling and credible. Authority is a combination of what is said and how it is embodied, creating resonance in every interaction. Anticipate resistance without internalizing it. People may challenge, dismiss, or react defensively to truth, but their response is not a measure of your value. Bold expression requires separating personal worth from external validation. View disagreement as an opportunity for clarity rather than a threat. Respond with composure, focus on facts or principles, and avoid reactive emotional responses. This detachment ensures that truth is expressed consistently without being diluted by fear or appeasement. The ability to maintain composure while facing opposition strengthens both credibility and self-respect. Link truth-telling to action. Expressing principles without living by them diminishes authenticity. Align decisions, behavior, and communication with your defined values. When actions reflect words, authority becomes unassailable. Others instinctively recognize integrity and are more likely to respect and follow individuals whose truth is consistently demonstrated. Bold communication, when grounded in aligned action, magnifies influence and reinforces self-confidence because it demonstrates mastery over both thought and behavior. Challenge internal self-doubt before speaking. Hesitation often stems from imagined inadequacy or fear of conflict. Train the mind to question assumptions that silence expression. Consider whether fear reflects reality or internalized past experiences. Use evidence of prior successes or well-executed difficult conversations to reinforce capability. Affirmations anchored in demonstrated ability enhance readiness to communicate truth. By strengthening internal certainty, the external act of speaking boldly becomes natural rather than forced, creating a seamless alignment of confidence and action. Practice active listening to enhance authority. Speaking truth effectively is not merely about declaration. It requires understanding the audience and context. Listen attentively to cues, concerns, and perspectives without abandoning your principles. Integrating empathy with assertiveness increases receptivity while maintaining clarity. Authority is reinforced when communication demonstrates both knowledge and consideration, balancing firmness with respect. Listening also reveals areas for precision and focus, improving effectiveness without compromising integrity. Embrace clarity over persuasion. Speaking boldly does not mean convincing everyone. It means expressing truth accurately and assertively. Avoid over-explaining, justifying excessively, or softening language unnecessarily. Concise, confident articulation carries more weight than elaborate attempts to gain agreement. Confidence grows when the mind prioritizes expression over approval. Authority emerges from the consistency and clarity of communication, rather than the number of allies persuaded. Incorporate reflection and feedback for continuous improvement. After each important interaction, evaluate what was communicated, how it was received, and how authenticity was maintained. Note instances where hesitation or compromise occurred unnecessarily. Develop strategies to refine articulation, tone, and alignment of words with beliefs. This iterative process strengthens both competence and courage in truth-telling. Over time, expression becomes effortless because it is habitual, intentional, and reinforced by evidence of effectiveness. Use fear as a signal rather than a barrier. Physical reactions such as increased heart rate or tension often accompany honesty in high-stakes situations. Recognize these sensations as signs of growth rather than threats. Breathing, grounding, and deliberate focus on principles allow the mind to act decisively despite discomfort. Repeated exposure to fear while speaking truth trains the nervous system to remain composed, gradually transforming anxiety into energy that reinforces clarity and authority. Integrate truth-telling into daily interactions to normalize practice. Begin with small expressions of preference, opinion, or boundary setting in personal and professional contexts. These micro-practices condition the mind and body to handle larger, more complex communication confidently. Regular engagement reduces the mental barrier associated with high-stakes honesty, creating a habit of bold, principled expression. Cumulative experience generates momentum, making the act of speaking truth increasingly automatic and unshakable. Anchor confidence through visible symbols of principles. Use notes, reminders, or rituals to reinforce core values and commitments to authenticity. Each encounter with these cues strengthens the association between belief, action, and verbal expression. Over time, the mind internalizes these principles as automatic triggers for consistent truth-telling. Authority is enhanced when internal alignment is maintained regardless of situational pressures or social context. Balance assertiveness with adaptability. Bold truth-telling requires responsiveness to circumstance without compromising integrity. Flexibility in approach, phrasing, or timing allows the message to be received effectively while maintaining core principles. Mastery of this balance increases influence and strengthens self-respect, because expression is guided by wisdom rather than impulse or fear. Strategic adaptability ensures that truth is powerful and respected, rather than ignored or resisted. Finally, commit to speaking truth as an ongoing practice. Confidence and authority are not static states, but habits cultivated over time. Daily engagement with honesty, reflection, alignment of action and speech, and handling of resistance gradually fortifies self-respect. Bold communication becomes a defining feature of character, empowering decisive action, fostering respect from others, and sustaining influence. The person who consistently voices truth from clarity and integrity becomes unstoppable because authority emerges not from external validation, but from disciplined, authentic expression, fully aligned with personal values and purpose. Chapter 7. Build meaningful routines to reinforce confidence and personal growth. Routines are the backbone of consistency, discipline, and personal growth. They create structure in a world that constantly demands attention and energy, allowing the mind to focus on priorities rather than being scattered by distractions or impulses. Building meaningful routines is not about rigid schedules or mechanical repetition. It is about designing daily actions that reinforce confidence, skill, and character over time. Each deliberate choice compounded daily strengthens competence and resilience, transforming ordinary days into engines of progress. The more intentional routines become, the less energy is wasted on indecision, and the more automatic behaviors align with long-term goals, creating an environment where personal growth occurs naturally and consistently. Begin by defining what meaningful routines are for your life. Identify areas where consistent effort produces visible results, including mental, physical, and emotional domains. This could involve morning practices for clarity, focused work sessions for skill development, exercise for physical resilience, or reflective journaling for self-awareness. Each routine should serve a purpose beyond mere busyness. The key is intentionality, Every action must reinforce growth, competence, and confidence, ensuring time is invested wisely. Clarity of purpose ensures that routines are not arbitrary, but act as direct levers for transformation. Prioritize routines that create momentum early in the day. Starting with foundational practices sets the tone for focus, discipline, and achievement. Activities such as meditation, physical movement, or goal visualization activate mental and physical energy for the day ahead. Early wins, even small ones, reinforce the belief in personal capability and establish a pattern of success. These consistent first steps anchor confidence and signal to the mind that growth is non-negotiable. Momentum built in the morning carries through all subsequent decisions, amplifying the effect of every daily action. Integrate micro-routines that address critical habits incrementally. Breaking larger practices into manageable segments increases the likelihood of consistency. For example, rather than attempting an hour of focused study at once, create multiple 15-minute blocks interspersed with reflection or physical activity. Micro-routines train the brain to anticipate and complete tasks efficiently, while reinforcing a sense of accomplishment throughout the day. Regular micro-successes gradually accumulate into substantial growth, solidifying confidence as progress becomes measurable and undeniable. Align routines with personal values and long-term goals. Meaningful routines do not exist in isolation. They should reflect what is genuinely important. Ask whether each daily practice strengthens skills, character, or outcomes that align with aspirations. Eliminating actions that waste time or contradict priorities increases mental clarity and reinforces self-respect. When routines mirror values, confidence grows naturally because effort and intention are coherent rather than scattered. The mind responds positively to internal alignment, and personal growth becomes predictable, measurable, and satisfying. Incorporate reflection and assessment into routines. Consistent evaluation ensures routines remain effective and relevant. At the end of each day, identify which actions produced results, which created challenges, and where improvements can be applied. Reflection transforms repetition into learning. The brain begins to associate routine not only with habit, but with conscious optimization, making each iteration more impactful. Continuous refinement strengthens confidence because it demonstrates control over process and outcome, reinforcing the understanding that personal growth is deliberate and achievable. Create routines that reinforce resilience under stress. Life introduces unexpected demands that can disrupt consistency. Include practices designed to build mental toughness, such as focused problem solving, brief exposure to discomfort, or deliberate decision-making under time constraints. Routines that simulate challenges in a controlled manner train the mind to remain composed and resourceful when true stress occurs. Confidence is bolstered because repeated exposure demonstrates that capability is reliable, preparation is effective, and obstacles are manageable. Over time, mental and emotional resilience becomes habitual, not reactive. Use routines to anchor self-discipline. Habitual action reduces reliance on fleeting motivation, which is inconsistent and unreliable. When tasks are performed at the same time or in a structured sequence daily, the mind learns that completion is expected and non-negotiable. This automaticity frees mental bandwidth for higher-order thinking, creativity, and strategic planning, while reinforcing the identity of a competent, disciplined individual. Self-respect grows naturally as effort becomes predictable and intentional, independent of external rewards or approval. Incorporate learning and skill development into daily routines. Continuous improvement is central to confidence and personal growth. Dedicate time for reading, practice, or exposure to new concepts, ensuring that mental agility and competence are strengthened consistently. Structured learning routines reduce procrastination and reinforce the notion that growth is both achievable and controllable. The accumulation of knowledge and skill builds authority internally and externally, creating a sense of personal power that strengthens self-esteem and broadens opportunity. Integrate social and accountability mechanisms into routines. Sharing progress with trusted individuals or communities provides motivation and ensures adherence. When actions are observed or shared, consistency increases because the mind becomes invested in both personal success and social integrity. Accountability amplifies routine effectiveness and fosters a mindset of responsibility, enhancing confidence as competence is continuously demonstrated and recognized. Collaboration and mutual reinforcements elevate routines from private practice to tangible reinforced achievement. Include intentional breaks and recovery periods to optimize performance. Effective routines balance effort with restoration, preventing burnout and maintaining clarity. Structured pauses for reflection, rest, or physical recovery enhance focus, creativity, and decision-making. Recovery is not passive, it is an essential component of growth because it consolidates learning, maintains energy, and preserves motivation. The combination of challenge and renewal ensures that routines are sustainable, effective, and psychologically reinforcing, allowing confidence to accumulate rather than fluctuate. Visualize and plan routines ahead of time to reduce friction. Preparing the environment, setting priorities, and scheduling key actions minimizes the chance of distraction or indecision. When the mind knows what to expect, energy is directed toward execution rather than contemplation. Anticipation of routine completion creates positive reinforcement loops, strengthening the likelihood of consistency. Planning embeds intentionality into action, ensuring that every routine contributes meaningfully to personal development and confidence. Use rituals within routines to create psychological anchors. Simple cues, such as specific music, a designated workspace, or a pre-action gesture, signal the mind that it is time to perform intentionally. Rituals reduce resistance, increase focus, and enhance the sense of mastery over the day's activities. They create predictability that reassures the mind while simultaneously embedding habits into identity. Repeated association of ritual and action solidifies growth patterns, turning daily practice into automatic reinforcement of confidence and capability. Track results systematically to maintain motivation. Record completed routines, progress toward goals, and personal reflections in a tangible format. Observing data reinforces the connection between effort and outcome, transforming abstract intention into measurable achievement. Reviewing trends over weeks and months strengthens belief in capability and demonstrates that disciplined action consistently produces growth. Evidence of progress motivates sustained engagement and reinforces identity as a competent, resilient individual. Adjust routines dynamically in response to changing circumstances. Life is fluid, and routines must be adaptable to remain effective. Modify intensity, focus, or timing as needed without abandoning core principles. Flexibility ensures that routines continue to serve growth rather than becoming rigid, counterproductive, or demotivating. Confidence is reinforced because the mind learns that consistency is about commitment to purpose, not blind adherence to fixed schedules. Adaptability within structure enhances resilience, effectiveness, and personal mastery. Finally, embed routines into identity rather than treating them as chores. The individual who consistently acts with intention, reflection, and alignment transforms daily habits into extensions of character. Routines become automatic enablers of confidence, competence, and personal growth rather than external impositions. Each completed action reinforces self-respect, sharpens focus, and demonstrates mastery over circumstance. Over time, Deliberate routines generate unstoppable confidence, not as a product of motivation, but as the natural outcome of disciplined, meaningful, and continuous engagement with actions that matter. Chapter 8. Observe successful people to model habits that create results. Success leaves traces, and the most effective way to accelerate growth is to observe those who consistently achieve results. Successful individuals have cultivated habits, mindsets, and routines that generate outcomes repeatedly, and these patterns can be studied, adapted, and applied in one's own life. Observation is not passive, it is an active exercise in learning how thought, action, and discipline translate into measurable accomplishment. By paying attention to what works and why it works, it is possible to shortcut trial and error, internalize proven behaviors, and build a personal framework that naturally produces results. The key lies in studying both visible actions and the underlying principles that drive them consistently. Begin by identifying individuals whose success aligns with your goals and values. Look for those who have demonstrated mastery in areas relevant to your aspirations, whether in business, personal development, creative work, or leadership. Focus not only on their achievements, but also on the processes, daily choices, and mindset that enable those achievements. Observing role models is most effective when the goal is understanding patterns, not merely admiring outcomes. Deep observation allows replication of effective strategies while avoiding unnecessary repetition of mistakes or ineffective behaviors. Analyze their daily routines and decision-making processes. Successful people often structure their days intentionally, focusing energy on high-value actions while minimizing distractions. Note how they prioritize tasks, manage time, and sustain momentum. Look at how they respond to setbacks, maintain consistency, and balance effort with recovery. These details reveal the mechanisms behind performance. By integrating similar strategies into personal practice, individuals can replicate effectiveness while tailoring approaches to their unique circumstances and strengths. Pay close attention to mindset and attitude. Confidence, resilience, and determination are cultivated internally before they manifest externally. Observe how successful individuals maintain composure under stress, adapt to challenges, and sustain motivation over long periods. Their thought patterns, self-talk, and responses to obstacles provide insight into the mental frameworks that support consistent achievement. Adopting similar cognitive approaches strengthens decision-making, reduces fear of failure, and reinforces the belief that consistent effort leads to measurable outcomes. Examine habits surrounding learning and skill development. High performers engage in deliberate practice, continuous education, and reflective evaluation. They consistently invest time in improving knowledge, abilities, and strategies. Note their methods of information acquisition, problem solving, and feedback integration. Modeling these behaviors ensures growth is active rather than accidental. When learning becomes habitual, progress is steady, and confidence grows organically because competence increases predictably over time. Observe communication and relational skills. Successful individuals often build influence through clarity, respect, and strategic engagement. Notice how they express ideas, listen, and negotiate. Observe how they establish authority without alienation, inspire collaboration, and manage interpersonal dynamics. These behavioral patterns are critical because achievement rarely occurs in isolation. Modeling effective communication builds credibility and expands capacity to navigate complex social and professional environments, enhancing both personal confidence and practical outcomes. Study their approach to risk and decision-making. High achievers consistently weigh potential outcomes, take calculated risks, and act decisively. Notice how they analyze information, evaluate probabilities, and commit to action, despite uncertainty. Risk-taking is a deliberate process, not reckless behavior. By observing these patterns, it becomes possible to develop comfort with uncertainty and improve judgment. Modeling this behavior strengthens courage, decisiveness, and confidence, creating a mindset oriented toward action rather than hesitation. Focus on emotional regulation and stress management. Successful people often demonstrate the ability to remain calm under pressure, recover quickly from setbacks, and sustain focus during challenging situations. Observe techniques they use, whether mental reframing, breathing practices, or structured problem solving. Emotional mastery enables clear thinking and effective action, even in adversity. Incorporating similar strategies into daily life increases resilience and ensures that confidence is grounded in capability rather than superficial bravado. Document observations systematically. Take notes on behaviors, routines, strategies, and mindset patterns. Categorize actions into replicable habits, principles, and mental approaches. This process transforms passive observation into actionable insights. Writing down observations reinforces memory and provides a reference for experimentation and adaptation. Systematic documentation ensures that lessons learned are applied deliberately, increasing the likelihood that emulation produces measurable results rather than random imitation. Apply observed habits gradually and intentionally. Modeling is most effective when integrated step by step, allowing adaptation to personal strengths, context, and goals. Begin with small, high-impact behaviors that can be incorporated consistently. Monitor results, reflect on effectiveness, and adjust implementation as needed. Gradual integration ensures that habits are internalized authentically rather than superficially, creating sustainable growth. Confidence is strengthened when practice produces tangible outcomes, confirming that emulation leads to improvement rather than mere imitation. Evaluate underlying principles rather than copying blindly. Success is the product of patterns and principles that drive consistent action. Understand the reasoning behind behaviors, not just the behavior itself. Principles provide flexibility for adaptation, ensuring effectiveness across different contexts. By internalizing principles, it becomes possible to innovate while maintaining alignment with proven strategies. Modeling success in this way creates authentic confidence because actions are guided by understanding and insight rather than mimicry. Observe responses to failure and setbacks. How successful individuals recover from disappointment reveals their resilience and learning strategies. Notice whether they reflect, adjust, persist, or innovate. These responses often determine long-term outcomes more than talent alone. Modeling effective approaches to failure teaches the mind to treat setbacks as information rather than judgment, enhancing persistence, courage, and confidence. Repeated exposure to these patterns trains automatic responses that support sustained growth under pressure. Pay attention to energy management and consistency. High performers maintain productivity without burning out by managing energy, focus, and recovery. Note patterns of work intensity, rest, nutrition, and mental recharge. Routines that sustain consistent output prevent depletion and ensure that capability is reliable. Modeling these patterns enhances confidence because performance is predictable and not dependent on sporadic bursts of effort or external motivation. Sustainability is a hallmark of durable success and authority. Integrate reflection and iteration into your own practice. After applying observed habits, evaluate what is working, what requires adaptation, and what can be improved. Continuous iteration ensures that routines and strategies remain aligned with personal goals, while retaining the effectiveness observed in successful models. Reflection transforms action into mastery, and consistent refinement reinforces confidence, because it demonstrates that competence grows through conscious, deliberate effort. Combine observation with personal experimentation. Not every habit or strategy will fit every individual. Test modifications and variations while maintaining core principles. Experimentation ensures that growth is personalized, sustainable, and aligned with individual strengths. Confidence is strengthened through evidence of capability, decision-making, and adaptability rather than mere replication. Experimentation creates ownership of growth, transforming borrowed wisdom into authentic personal power. Finally, adopt a mindset of lifelong learning through observation. Success is dynamic, and those who continue to study, adapt, and refine habits remain at the forefront of achievement. Treat each interaction, encounter, and observation as an opportunity to gather insight, model effectively, and integrate new strategies. Continuous observation and application reinforce a mental framework where growth is expected, competence is habitual, and confidence is self-evident. By observing, analyzing, and integrating the habits of successful individuals consistently, personal potential is unlocked. Authority is strengthened, and unstoppable confidence becomes a natural outcome of deliberate, informed, and persistent action. Chapter 9. Reflect on progress regularly to fuel motivation and purpose. Regular reflection is one of the most powerful tools for building confidence, maintaining motivation, and deepening purpose. It creates a clear mirror for progress, revealing accomplishments that often go unnoticed and highlighting areas that need attention. Without reflection, effort can become mechanical and disconnected from results, leaving energy wasted and growth slow. Taking deliberate time to evaluate actions, decisions, and outcomes strengthens awareness and builds a feedback loop where learning is accelerated. The practice of reflecting regularly transforms experience into knowledge and knowledge into strategic action, creating a foundation for unstoppable confidence that is rooted in both insight and results. Start by establishing a consistent reflection practice, ideally at the end of each day or week. Schedule uninterrupted time where distractions are minimized and attention can focus fully on honest evaluation. Use this period to review accomplishments, challenges faced, decisions made, and emotional responses experienced. Assessing these elements allows recognition of patterns in behavior, strengths that can be leveraged, and weaknesses that require improvement. This clarity provides direction and ensures effort is purposeful rather than aimless, fostering confidence in one's ability to influence outcomes through conscious action. Focus on both quantitative and qualitative measures of progress. Numbers, metrics, and tangible outcomes provide objective evidence of improvement, while personal experience, mindset shifts, and emotional growth reveal subtler dimensions of success. Combining these perspectives offers a comprehensive view of development, showing not just what was achieved, but also how growth occurred internally. Tracking progress across multiple dimensions ensures a more accurate understanding of capability and reinforces motivation because it demonstrates measurable impact alongside meaningful personal evolution. Analyze obstacles and setbacks encountered during the reflection period. Challenges are inevitable, but their true value lies in what they teach about preparation, strategy, and resilience. Identify the decisions, habits, or external factors that contributed to difficulty and develop actionable strategies to address them in the future. Reflection allows failures to be converted into insight rather than sources of discouragement, transforming each experience into a stepping stone for growth. The mind begins to perceive obstacles not as threats, but as opportunities to refine capability and reinforce confidence. Consider emotional responses during key moments. Confidence is not just the product of achievement, but also of composure, clarity, and self-regulation under pressure. Reflecting on moments of stress, frustration, or doubt reveals how emotions influence decisions and actions. Understanding emotional patterns enables the development of strategies for self-regulation, ensuring that future challenges are approached with calm, focus, and intention. Mastery over emotional reactions strengthens belief in one's capacity to handle difficulty effectively, enhancing overall self-respect and authority. Document reflections systematically. Writing down insights, lessons, and progress consolidates understanding and creates a tangible record of growth. Journals, digital notes, or structured templates provide a reference for evaluating long-term trends and progress over time. Documentation transforms abstract thought into concrete evidence, making it easier to observe patterns, track improvements, and identify recurring challenges. Seeing progress in written form reinforces the reality of personal developments, sustaining motivation by showing that consistent effort produces measurable change. Set clear benchmarks for reflection, determining what constitutes meaningful progress in each area of life, whether skill development, emotional resilience, physical capability, or professional achievement. Benchmarking allows reflection to be structured rather than vague, providing a framework for assessing whether current strategies are effective. Clear standards give a sense of direction and purpose, and they allow small successes to be recognized, creating momentum that strengthens confidence and persistence. Use reflection to realign actions with purpose. Goals and priorities can shift over time, and regular reflection ensures that effort remains focused on what truly matters. Ask whether the actions taken are moving toward desired outcomes and whether they align with long-term aspirations. Misalignment is identified quickly, allowing adjustments before habits and routines become ineffective. Purpose-driven action generates energy, motivation, and clarity, reinforcing confidence because effort is consistently directed toward meaningful objectives. Incorporate questions that challenge assumptions and encourage deeper insight. During reflection, consider whether actions were driven by convenience, fear, or external expectations rather than intentional choice. Question whether the mindset was constructive, whether priorities were respected, and whether opportunities for growth were seized. Honest self-inquiry uncovers blind spots and enhances self-awareness, ensuring that personal growth is both intentional and comprehensive. Deeper understanding of patterns strengthens confidence by revealing not only progress, but also the wisdom guiding it. Reflect on resource utilization and decision-making efficiency. Assess how time, energy, and skills were deployed during the period under review. Identify areas where choices could have been more effective, where procrastination or distraction occurred, and where leverage could have been maximized. Optimizing resource allocation through reflection improves productivity and reinforces the belief that actions can consistently lead to desired outcomes. This process instills trust in personal capability and builds momentum for further achievement. Celebrate achievements, no matter the scale. Reflection is not only about identifying gaps, but also about recognizing wins. Acknowledging progress reinforces self-respect and motivation, providing evidence that effort produces results. Celebration does not require external validation. It is an internal recognition of growth and competence. Regular acknowledgement of accomplishments strengthens confidence, builds momentum, and sustains engagement with personal development practices over time. Integrate lessons learned from reflection into forward planning. Insights gained should directly influence the design of future routines, decision-making, and goal setting. Reflection without application is wasted energy. The true value lies in translating observation into action. Plan adjustments based on what has been discovered, setting realistic and purposeful next steps. This cycle of action, evaluation, and adaptation, builds cumulative progress and ensures that confidence is grounded in demonstrated competence rather than abstract intention. Incorporate social or mentor feedback into reflection when appropriate. Objective perspectives can reveal blind spots, offer guidance, and validate growth that may go unnoticed internally. Seek input from trusted individuals who provide constructive insight aligned with personal goals. Combining internal reflection with external perspectives enhances accuracy, ensures balanced evaluation, and strengthens confidence because feedback confirms the reality of progress while identifying actionable improvements. Use reflection to strengthen resilience in facing uncertainty. Reviewing past successes, failures, and strategies reminds the mind that challenges are surmountable and growth is continuous. Reflecting on patterns of adaptation, perseverance, and problem-solving builds assurance that future obstacles can be navigated effectively. This historical perspective reduces anxiety about unknowns, reinforcing a mindset of proactive engagement and persistent effort. Finally, integrate reflection as a daily habit rather than occasional practice. Consistency ensures that learning is ongoing, self-awareness is sharpened, and growth accumulates steadily. Over time, the mind naturally evaluates actions, decisions, and outcomes, creating a continual feedback loop where motivation is sustained, purpose is clear, and confidence emerges organically from evidence of persistent effort and meaningful accomplishment. Regular reflection transforms experience into insight, challenges into learning, and effort into unstoppable momentum, building a foundation of enduring self-respect, clarity, and unstoppable confidence that empowers all areas of life. Chapter 10. Train patience intentionally to maintain calm under pressure. Patience is one of the most underestimated skills in building unstoppable confidence, yet it underpins every significant achievement and long-term success. The ability to remain calm under pressure, to delay immediate gratification, and to respond deliberately rather than react impulsively is what separates consistent performers from those who stumble under stress. Training patience is not a passive act. It requires intentional practice, self-awareness, and consistent exposure to situations that challenge tolerance and composure. Patience strengthens resilience, sharpens decision-making, and reinforces self-control, all of which contribute to confidence that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Begin by understanding the nature of impatience and its consequences. Impatience often stems from the desire for instant results, fear of discomfort, or lack of trust in personal capability. It triggers hasty decisions, reactive behavior, and emotional volatility. Observing moments of impatience in daily life provides insight into personal triggers and patterns. Awareness is the first step toward control, because it allows deliberate intervention before impulsive reactions take over. Identifying these triggers transforms frustration into opportunity for growth rather than repeated error. Practice intentional delay to cultivate tolerance for discomfort. Start with small, manageable exercises, such as waiting an extra minute before responding to a text, finishing a task without rushing, or taking time to consider options before making a decision. These micro-practices strengthen the neural pathways associated with self-control and calmness, creating a foundation for more challenging scenarios. Gradual exposure trains the mind to accept temporary discomfort, reinforcing the understanding that delayed action often produces better outcomes than impulsive reaction. Focus on deep, controlled breathing to stabilize the mind during stressful moments. Physiological responses to pressure, racing heart, tense muscles, or shallow breathing can escalate emotional reactions. Deliberate breath control signals to the nervous system that danger is not imminent, reducing anxiety and promoting clarity. Combining breathwork with conscious observation of the situation enhances the ability to respond rather than react. Over time, controlled breathing becomes an automatic anchor, allowing composure to persist under increasingly demanding circumstances. Develop a mindset oriented toward long-term perspective. Patience thrives when the mind recognizes that meaningful results require time, effort, and persistence. Train yourself to evaluate situations beyond immediate outcomes, focusing on cumulative benefits and strategic impact. By prioritizing future gains over temporary satisfaction, confidence grows because decisions are guided by vision rather than impulse. This perspective reduces frustration, increases tolerance for setbacks, and reinforces the discipline necessary to maintain calm under pressure. Use reflective practices to enhance patience. Journaling or mental review of challenging situations allows examination of past responses, identification of triggers, and development of strategies for improvement. Reflection transforms impulsive reactions into conscious learning experiences. Understanding how previous impatience affected outcomes highlights the value of deliberate calmness and reinforces commitment to patient responses in the future. Continuous reflection integrates patience into character rather than leaving it dependent on favorable conditions. Incorporate strategic pauses in daily routines. Before responding in conversation, making a decision, or taking action, create a deliberate pause. This brief interval allows assessment of priorities, consideration of consequences, and alignment with long-term objectives. These pauses reinforce discipline, enhance clarity, and provide a buffer against emotional escalation. Habitual practice strengthens the mind's ability to maintain composure automatically, turning patience into an instinctive response rather than a conscious effort. Embrace challenges as opportunities to train patience. Situations that provoke irritation, frustration, or discomfort are ideal for practice. By approaching these scenarios with intentional calmness and measured response, the mind learns that external pressures are manageable. Each successful engagement with difficulty reinforces self-trust and resilience. Over time, exposure to challenging circumstances increases tolerance, reduces stress, and builds a reservoir of calmness that fuels confidence even in unpredictable conditions. Combine patience with proactive problem solving. Remaining calm does not mean passive inaction. It requires deliberate and thoughtful engagement with challenges. Assess the situation, weigh options, and act strategically rather than impulsively. Patience enhances judgment by providing the mental space to analyze, prioritize, and execute effectively. The combination of composure and decisive action generates credibility, authority, and trust in personal competence. Practice gratitude to support patience. Recognizing progress, resources, and strength provides perspective that reduces frustration and impatience. Gratitude shifts focus from what is lacking or delayed to what is available and progressing. This mental orientation fosters tolerance for waiting, perseverance through obstacles, and calmness during high-pressure moments. By reinforcing the mind's awareness of abundance rather than scarcity, patience becomes more natural and confidence more resilient. Set incremental goals that require sustained effort. Working toward objectives that cannot be achieved instantly teaches persistence and delayed gratification. Each step completed reinforces the belief in capability, demonstrates progress, and validates patience as a strategic advantage. Small victories build momentum, maintaining motivation and reinforcing the confidence that steady effort produces reliable outcomes. Confidence becomes inseparable from disciplined patience because the link between action and results is observed and internalized. Observe and model the patience of high performers. Study individuals who consistently achieve results under pressure. Notice their timing, response to setbacks, and measured approach to decision-making. Emulate their strategies while adapting them to personal context. Observation accelerates learning and provides practical examples of how patience operates as a tool for consistent, confident action. Modeling reinforces understanding and helps convert abstract concepts into actionable habits. Develop mental framing techniques to manage urgency and stress. Train the mind to interpret delays, setbacks, or obstacles as neutral or beneficial rather than threatening. Cognitive reframing reduces emotional reactivity and promotes rational assessment. This practice strengthens the ability to maintain composure when outcomes are uncertain, ensuring that pressure does not compromise decision-making or self-assurance. Confident individuals control perception as much as action, and framing is a critical component of this control. Integrate mindfulness into everyday practice. Awareness of thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations enhances recognition of impulsive tendencies. Mindful attention allows intervention before automatic reactions occur. Daily mindfulness strengthens the connection between observation and response, fostering deliberate patience and reinforcing confidence. By observing the present moment with clarity, the mind becomes less reactive and more resilient under stress, creating a stable foundation for decision-making and performance. Establish routines that reinforce patience over time. Structured practices, such as regular meditation, reflective journaling, deliberate planning, or controlled exposure to challenging situations, provide consistent reinforcement of calmness and tolerance. Routines turn patience into a habitual skill rather than an occasional virtue. The accumulation of repeated, intentional practice builds a neural and behavioral foundation where composure and confidence coexist naturally, independent of external circumstances. Finally, commit to viewing patience as a core element of personal strength. Consistently training the mind to remain calm under pressure strengthens self-control, enhances judgment, and reinforces confidence. Over time, patience becomes a defining characteristic that supports all other aspects of personal growth. The individual who cultivates intentional patience demonstrates mastery over impulses, maintains clarity amidst chaos, and exercises authority over choices. Calmness becomes an asset, confidence becomes unshakable, and the capacity to handle any situation expands, creating unstoppable confidence that is enduring, practical, and deeply empowering.